All right, folks, hour number 3 of the Big Steve Malzberg Show. Stephen Moore, Wall Street Journal contributor and chief economist for the Heritage Foundation, has a great new book out, too, we'll talk about. He will be here to discuss a wide range of issues, the GM announcement today and the EPA decision earlier in the week. It's all fair game. Then the Malzberg panel, once again, co-host of Steele and Unger on Sirius XM. Rick Unger will be here, and writer for the National Review, A.J. Delgado. Then Michael Tomasky, special correspondent for the Daily Beast and editor-in-chief of Democracy, a journal of ideas. He says that the Bergdahl story is right-wing crack. We'll find out what he means by that. All that, give me 5 and more on this hour of the Steve Malzberg Show.
Ready? Fire away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
I realize there are no words of mine that can ease their grief or their pain. But as I lead through this crisis, I want everyone to know I am guided by 2 clear principles. First, we will do the right thing for those who were harmed. And second, we'll accept responsibility for our mistakes and commit to doing everything within our power to make sure this never happens again.
All right, that's Mary Barra, the CEO of GM, announcing the firing of 15 in the wake of what she called a deeply troubling internal report on the, the liabilities, shall we say, for a court to determine, I guess, that caused the death of at least 13 people. Joining us now, Stephen Moore, as promised. Hello, Stephen.
Hi, Steve.
Good to talk to you as always. So, you know, I'm always troubled by internal reports, like when the White House investigates itself. And here we had that happen here. And, you know, for some reason, this woman who's been in the company forever, she knew nothing. She knows nothing. She speaks no evil, hears no evil, sees no evil. And 15 other people are going to be done away with.
Yeah, you know, there's supposed to be accountability at the top, right? You know, and the buck is supposed to stop here, as Harry Truman used to say. And I'm not so sure that's happening at GM. But, you know, I'll say this, though. You know, where is the accountability in the federal government? I mean, where are the heads that are going to roll throughout the Veterans Administration? Where are the heads that are going to roll throughout the IRS? Where are the heads that are going to roll throughout the State Department? All of these departments that have had one scandal after another, we just whistle Dixie and just act as if it didn't happen, and, you know, maybe one person takes the fall, but the same system remains in place. So when I think about this story, I think, you know, this is a terrible story, a horrible tragedy, but at the government level, no one ever takes responsibility.
Well, that's absolutely true, especially in this administration. You know, just the other day, he made reference to finding out about something on TV. Oh, no. He's going to find out about something on TV as it all unfolds. Maybe he was talking about the investigation into the status of Sergeant Bergdahl. But he said it again. I couldn't believe it. He never stops. Let's talk about what he did.
You know, by the way, have you seen the? You know, there's a great YouTube video of him just. I'm outraged that this happened. I'm outraged that this happened. I'm never going to let this happen again. It goes on and on, you know, and it's every one is a different crisis, you know, and the tape goes on for about 10 minutes. The president's reaction is always the same. I'm outraged this is happening in my administration. Well, there's a little bit of a pattern here, Mr. President.
Yeah, well, and, you know, I think America, if they hadn't been already totally gone and fed up and, you know, the shine is worn off, this trade for Sergeant, quote-unquote, Sergeant Bergdahl, I think this has been the straw that has broken the camel's back.
Well, you know what? It wasn't that for me, but there was an event this week that did break the straw. In fact, I just wrote a piece, Steve, and I said, you know, I've been asked every time I give a speech around the country or talk, whether it's given to students or financial groups or CEOs, people always ask me, you know, what is Obama intentionally trying to harm our economy? Or
I ask you that, Steve. I ask you that all the time.
You ask me it. You know what? And Steve, you're the one, and you asked me it too. And what have I always said? No, I don't think. You know, this is a man. He's a good man. He just has bad ideas. But you know, then I saw this decision this week. that is going to put hundreds of thousands of Americans out of work.
The EPA.
With respect to the climate change stuff. And for the first time, I'm thinking, maybe this guy really, maybe this is intentional. I mean, can they really believe this spin that, oh, it's going to create all these green jobs, nobody's going to be harmed by this? I live in Virginia. I see firsthand people are losing their jobs. I mean, the whole towns in America are being vaporized. Coal mining towns, fourth generation, people make $35,000, $40,000 a year, seeing their jobs wiped out. President Obama says how much he cares about poor people. It doesn't bat an eye. I really do wonder now. For me, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't understand how a man who professes to care about minorities, low-income people, women, is so cavalierly destroying jobs to prevent the oceans from rising. Did he have some kind of messiah complex?
Well, Al Gore started the oceans rising. Don't forget that. But let's listen to the head of the EPA announcing what you're referring to here, number 26. All right. Well, we believe me, the head of the EPA did announce it. Anyway, it's not only will it.
Let me tell you a statistic that I think will. I bet you know this, but a lot of the listeners don't. If we even do this policy for the next 25 years or 20 years or so, do you know how much this will reduce global carbon emissions?
Nothing.
1%. 1%. I mean, we're going to put 100,000 Americans out of jobs. We're going to destroy our coal industry. We're going to raise electricity prices by thousands of dollars over the next decade for American consumers. We're going to hurt our manufacturers, and we're going to do this for nothing.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, he warned us when he was running in 08. He said, by definition, my energy policies will cause electricity rates to skyrocket.
Right. And gas is going to be more expensive. And
he didn't care if it was. He said, I don't care if it's $7, $8 a gallon, as long as it doesn't happen too quickly. So that's what his goal is.
I had forgotten about that, but you're right. He did tell us that.
Yeah.
We weren't listening or we weren't paying attention, but now he's delivering on that promise.
He is absolutely delivering. Now, you wrote a piece today at the Wall Street Journal on income inequality, and one of my Give Me Fives, we had Morgan Freeman, the actor, was on promoting something and he was on CNN with Don Lemon. And it's, Don Lemon, first he laments the fact that, I'm so sick of talking about race. And then he asks the question when it comes to income inequality, you think that has to do with race? So he brings it up, and Morgan Freeman says, today? No. He said, look at you and me. We're proof. And Freeman was also pick yourself up by your bootstraps. I was shocked at his philosophy. I was pleasantly surprised. But, the income inequality gap is just increasing under Obama. That's another thing that I think he's purposely doing.
Yeah, well, that was the point of my editorial today, is that if you look at states, this is kind of an amazing story, that the most liberal states, like the one you live in, New York and New Jersey and Connecticut, Massachusetts, my home state of Illinois, California, those are the states that have the most income inequality. And the red states, the states, like Utah and Arizona and Indiana and states like that, those states have the least income inequality. And what we found is that, when states raise their income taxes, when they raise their minimum wages, guess what happens to income inequality?
It goes down.
No.
Oh, when they raise the minimum wage, no, it goes up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it has exactly the opposite effect as what, so why would we do this on a national level when it doesn't work? And the reason for that, people are probably scratching their head and saying, well, how is that? It's because these policies destroy jobs, they destroy the economy, and when you do that, who gets hurt the most?
Well, what's going to happen in Seattle? Well, Stephen, what's going to happen in Seattle with this $15 minimum wage eventually?
I was out there about a month and a half ago doing a debate at the University of Washington, and I told people, look, if you do this, you're going to destroy a lot of your restaurants. So there's going to be automation. You're going to go to fast food restaurants now, and a robot is going to serve you. I mean, literally, you're going to destroy the starter jobs in this city. Now, it's not all of them. Some people will pay the $15 an hour, but this is the worst thing you can do. I just hate raising the minimum wage because my first job was minimum wage, and that was one of the most important jobs I ever had. You're destroying starter jobs in this country. Why would you want to do that when we already have 18 million people out of the workforce?
Maybe we should ask President Obama. All right, now let me ask you about this. The jobs numbers coming out tomorrow, for the month of May. they're predicting ADP, if you could go by that, and you really can't, but they're saying under 200,000 and adjusting April a little bit downwards as well. You and I talked, I don't know how many, maybe 100 times since Obama's been in office, and it's the same story. It's instant replay. There's an exception here, an exception there, but we don't get out of this. We're treading water.
I was thinking the same thing because, last year we got that lousy GDP report, negative 1%. Oh, it was the weather, know. And then it was something else. What was it? Obama, earthquakes and, this or that. I mean, he finds the most incredible things. Was it the tsunami or I forget, the things he used to blame for the lousy reports, And he always has an excuse for why the economy is underperforming. And by the way, you might be able to say, a couple 0.2% of the GDP was cut off by weather. But, we've had bad winters before, and we didn't lose economic ground. The economy didn't shrink.
No, absolutely not. So if the number's 200,000 or below, I mean, it's not good for the economy. It might be good for the stock market, so they'll feel the Fed won't.
What we need, Steve, we need, you look under Reagan.
We need 350,000 a month.
We had 1 month under Reagan. We had 1 million jobs.
Wow.
I bet you don't believe that. You can look it up. 1 million jobs in 1 month.
Wow.
Can you imagine what Barack Obama would be doing? He'd be doing cartwheels down Pennsylvania Avenue if he could get 1 million jobs. He can't even get 1 million jobs in a year.
Oh, my gosh. And that leads me to this, Stephen. There's a survey that was done just the other day that shows that Americans believe that the American dream, especially young Americans, about 60%, the American dream is unreachable. 63% of adults 18 to 34 are most likely to feel the American dream is unattainable. 63%. Now, the American dream as it's traditionally been defined, not as Barack Obama has come in and redefined it literally by telling people, a good job, a nice sized house, blah, blah, be happy. That's not the American dream, but people don't believe it anymore.
That's so sad. And by the way, I think that's way too pessimistic. I mean, look, I think we're one election away, a regime change away from a big boom in this economy. I mean, if you get rid of these idiotic policies we've been put in place, the ones that we've just been talking about, and you get, if you don't at least replace huge amounts of Obamacare, if you don't repeal the whole thing, I mean, you start doing those things, you could see a big boom in this country. You could. I mean, private, companies are profitable. They're just not reinvesting their money into the business because they don't see any reason to do it. So I think that's overly pessimistic. We've been through worse than this. I mean, my goodness, I remember people felt the same way in the 70s. You remember the 70s, people said, the American dream is over. Then we had Ronald Reagan, and we had the biggest boom in the country, and the American dream was back big time.
Yeah, no, it's so true. So the book, which came out in April, an inquiry into the nature and causes of wealth of states, how taxes, energy, and worker freedom will change the balance of power among states. Very interesting this discussion in that book. I mean, it's a long title and it's very comprehensive. It's exactly what the book talks about.
Well, so the story here is very simple. The red states are getting it right because they're practicing Reaganomics, and the blue states have got it wrong because they're practicing Obamanomics. I'm in Minnesota right now, Steve. You know what they did last year? They raised their income taxes. They raised their minimum wage. They've got the renewable energy standards, the whole litany playbook of liberalism. And this economy is really hurting. People are out of work. Meanwhile, in the South, they're doing the opposite, cutting tax rates, right to work, all this stuff. So it really matters, And if you look, the whole economy, the whole nation is not in recession. The area that's in a big recession is the Northeast because they can't get the policies right. Yeah, well, we know why that is as well. Stephen, always great to talk to you, my friend. Thank you very much. Thank you, Steve. Have a great day. Take care. Stephen Moore, ladies and gentlemen, chief economist at the Heritage Foundation and contributing editorial writer to the Wall Street Journal. It is very interesting, and it is very sad that people believe, about 59% overall, believe that the American dream is impossible to achieve in this country. And again, it's very important to point out, when you ask people about the American dream, they don't think of it like Obama has expressed it in words. I'm not just speculating. He said the American dream is a good job and a roof over your head. No, that's not the American dream. The American dream is to be a billionaire, baby. With lots of cars and lots of everything. That's the American dream, and then pass it on to your kids and grandkids. And it's out of reach, according to 6 in 10 Americans, and younger adults, it's even higher than that. And that's a shame. That is a real shame, and it speaks to where we are in this country.
The panel is next, if you keep it here on the Steve Malzberg Show.